Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of Can I Kick It FC. I'm your host, as always, Elliot Barr, and then joining me are 3/4, I believe it is, of Shades of Blue podcast, a black podcast that covers Manchester City FC. So as you guys know, I'm not good with names, so I'm gonna allow them the special opportunity to introduce themselves and all their trouble-loving flavor that they have. So, Crunk Chocolate. I'm not trying to laugh. We're gonna start over you, my
man. Yes, okay. He said it. My name is Crunk Chocolate, and yeah, I'm Crunk Chocolate. I don't really know what else to say. I am a Cancer. I like alcohol and cigars.
What is your social security number?
That is. You almost got me. Almost got me.
Scammers and hammers. That's what we're talking about. Oh man.
What's up, everybody? I am Tom Bomb 816. I hail from Kansas City, currently living that Rocky Mountain life. I am an Aquarius, and I'm 40 years old.
Tom, I got a question for you. Does every team you like have to have blue in it? Because you're a Sporting KC fan. Okay.
No, because my NFL team is very red.
Okay.
Oh my God! I'm so tired of hearing about that damn red team. I'm Southie Charlie. I'm a Broncos fan before I was a City fan, so therefore, I'm pulled at the heartstrings during NFL season because I haven't beaten Tom Bomb's team in literally like 6 years. I don't know what it means to do that anymore. But I'm a native Virginian, just like the homie Yogi. Morehouse man, if that matters to you. HBCU is where it's at. And a teacher by trade, headed into my 12th year teaching, and of course a City fan.
Word. So let me ask you this, because since you brought it up, you're a Broncos fan, man. I'm pretty sure these two are giving you a lot of junk last year about how Russell Wilson was so bad, right?
I mean, yes, and I can deflect because I don't care about my teams when they suck. Like, I'm not the fan that's angry when one team sucks when I got a Man City to like bring me joy. So I took the Broncos off my ESPN app. They happened to play on the weekend. I didn't know about it until the score came out. So, I always choose joy. Life's too short to be out here mad at Russell Wilson. And actually, that damn coach, Nathaniel Hackett, he's the one. So he's gone.
And there's
Sean Payton $20 million. We back. Yeah, that was the guy. I tried to let it go, but you brought it up. I got therapy on Monday. I'm going to bring it out on therapy. I'm done.
Oh, man.
See, but Charlie always did a good job of during football, that's what we call it on our show, season of like openly making fun of his own team. So like it's not like when you make fun of your own team when they are doing terrible, like what can you really say? It was like, man's down bad, but at least he's laughing through it. Like
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Well, I'm pretty sure you guys are. First of all, let me ask this. When you guys won the treble, how many open bottles did you guys pop throughout the day in the course of 24 hours?
If I can say, I was asleep by like 7:30, if that kind of explains you my energy.
Wow.
So, in a much similar vein, I was also asleep by 7:30. However, I did wake up at 10 and managed to rally. And as I said, told people on the post-match show, I was living my best van life and playing outside every day. Playing outside every day.
So my situation was different. I had I watched it with New York Sky Blues in one of their bars that they had set up. That was dope. We had a couple drinks during the match, but I wasn't going crazy. Afterwards, went to a little housewarming engagement party, drank for like 2 hours straight, 2-3 hours straight, just beers, had a little mixed drink, and then hit like 3 bars after that. So I went on like a little bit of a mini bender in Brooklyn, and it was great. It was amazing. Got home at like 1:30 in the morning. It was perfect.
So you had a miniature Jack Grealish moment.
Yeah.
Did you say freed the turkey? I need to know this.
No vodka here. The turkey does not do vodka. We keep our stuff nice and dark. But it
so
was.
You're the dark meat to his white meat.
That's what it is. Call me a turkey wing. I'm a goddamn.
There you go. There you go.
Turkey wings right here. We here, baby.
Oh man. All right. So I would ask you guys this is open to all of y'all, but like, how did you guys come together? Because I saw the tweet where you guys were. I think it was during y'all watch along, and I forgot who tweeted out, but one of y'all said to the effect of, pretty much, you can see the overall reach of our podcast because we're recording this in 4 different time zones. So how did you guys come? Like, how did 4 Black Man City fans all come together? It was like, you know what? Let's start a podcast. I need to hear how this started.
So I had done a weekly news podcast on my own for like 4 years or so, and just talking about the news was just hurting my soul because I do just as much prep work for that news show as I do for Shades of Blue. So it's 2, 3, 4 days of prep work. You record the episode, you edit the episode. By the time you release the episode, that's now like 3, 4, 5, 6 days old news, because I would try to not get what came out immediately, but I would also like dig in deep as to like why you should care and all this other stuff. And yeah, it was just miserable. So I just needed a pivot. I still love the podcast and the community that you can build. And I was still very fresh into, I guess, city Twitter. But I've always listened to an array of city podcasts, and there wasn't a Black one. And so I just tweeted out what it was, and I tagged Man City US, and luckily I've been able to make a good relationship with a couple of their admins. So they just retweeted that. That was the boost I needed, because I think when I first made the tweet, maybe it got like 2 or 3 retweets, and I had gotten, I think, 1 response by then. But once Man City US sent that over, I had 12 interviews, and with Sharpie, Tom Baum, Tarek, and Danielle were all included. And these were, like, honestly, the ones that I had the best conversation with. They were the ones who were engaging, and like I knew I needed. I wanted to talk about the women's side also. So like Tom Baum was just like, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I love women's football, and I was just like, boom. As long as he doesn't like say he's a crazy person or like let that slip, but even then, I'm the crazy person. So I just didn't want him to step on my toes. So that's kind of what it was. And so we found, we got enough people. We just all happened to be all around, and I do a lot of like small business marketing, creative marketing on the side. So like coming up with everything else, especially after meeting with these guys, it worked. But it was really like I chatted with them on Wednesday, Thursday, and then we recorded on Sunday, Monday, something like that. I gave them, and it's still to this day, it really hasn't changed. I just go, hey, these are the topics we're going to talk about, and I don't ask much more of them than for them to just give their takes. I try to lead the conversation. I try to start it. I just try to set them up, and they're fucking rock stars. Sorry, I guess I should ask, can I curse? But no, yeah, they're fantastic. It's a Black podcast. Cool. But I mean, I don't know about them. I mean, I just found out on a recording the other day that like Tom Baum was sent by a United fan. Are you the?
Yeah, actually, and Yogi, it's Douglas was the one that DM'd me with the information. And I was like, this sounds like a wonderful opportunity. I would like, it's difficult being, I don't want to say like a fan of a smaller club, but a fan of a club that is reestablishing its brand and like establishing its brand globally. It's like you're not going to see a lot of your own fans. Not only are you not going to see a lot of your own fans, like you are not going to see a lot of your own fans or like that look like you. So just being able to like engage in that opportunity was like just something that I didn't want to pass up at all. And it has definitely been one of the best decisions that I have made since I moved out to Colorado.
Yeah, so for me, it wasn't a Man City. I didn't see the Man City US retweet. I actually saw another City fan. I think I mispronounced her handle, but it's like Riva Natalia. And I saw her say something like, "Hey, if you're interested, check it out." And so I had just moved to LA and was living down in Long Beach, was watching all these games super early in the morning by myself because I love it and it was great. And I had just started to find like supporters groups in the areas. But once I hit up Crump and, you know, he got back to me, I was hyped. And bro, I started out with like no mic, no camera that was good. I was using the terrible Mac Air camera. So, you know, the boys, they stuck with me in those hard times. It was rough. It wasn't pretty and the videos look terrible. So I was like, okay, I got to upgrade finally. And, but yeah, man, it's something beautiful about it. And I always make a point to like shout us out for what Crunk started because there is nothing like us in the city sphere, or I don't think on most, you know, football pods, like 4 Black men who are knowledgeable of the game, who love it, who are into the nuances. I'm talking like, you know, the youth teams, the women's team that doesn't really gets love from podcasts, the transfer market. I love all the connections. Like I watch all world football. So like we try to, you know, talk about Black players in other countries that are popping off, or if we got to play people in Champions League. So it's like, it's been a very special now year and 3 months, I guess. And, but it still feels like the beginning. Like there's so much room for growth and, you know, they know the vibes with Shady Game.
Well, hold on. If I can just take over your own podcast,
definitely.
What were y'all's thoughts of me after the first meeting? Because I guess we've never talked about that.
I'm just really interested that you conducted interviews.
That's the thing that but it totally made sense though. I like to think of myself as as an O positive vibes donor. Like I'm just like pretty neutral for the most part. Like most people like get along with me, but I want to make sure that I got along with Crunk and that the things that we were talking about were going to be engaging and it was like going to be at least interesting for me to like, maybe not even like for somebody to listen to, but like just engage in, like, just, are we going to have interesting conversations when we talk? And I think that right when, like, within the first 2 minutes, I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like this is absolutely going to go well. Like, and I trust, like, and based off of everything that Crunk had like told us about it, like his history of like having podcasts in the past, like, it was like, oh yeah, like, it's not like I'm like some brand new person with other brand new people who have never done this before. At least we have someone who has navigated in this sphere somewhat, so knows how to do the technical work that I just simply do not. So I am very grateful for Crunk.
Let me ask this question real quick.
Yeah.
Was the requirement to wear your best city jersey in the interview? Because I need to know this.
No, I mean, all I wanted, like, truly, I just wanted someone who would like conversate back, because the whole thing is a podcast. So it's like, I wanted self-starters. I wanted me to be like, because I'm pretty sure I was purposefully like difficult. Like I was welcoming, but I basically was just like, tell me about your origin. Like that's always been my thing. Tell me your city origins, fan story. And then from there, I guess I was going to pick a thing and then our conversation could go off from there. But I was purposely trying to make them talk. So like if they said something that was like open-ended, I wouldn't say anything because I wanted to see what they were going to do in that silence. So, I mean, I really didn't care what they wore. It was just, if you talked to me, if you said something back to me. I had multiple people I had a couple people who had to reschedule multiple times. I had a few people who didn't show up. I had some people who, like, by the end of it, they were just like, what do you want from me? Because they're like, maybe I was just like very obvious, like it wasn't going well. I don't know. It was very rough. So when Sharpie, Danielle, Tom Baum, and Tarek like hopped on, it was so easy that it stuck out. And the reason why I picked so many of them, and I'm pretty sure I said that in the group chat, I was just like, hey, I picked so many of us, just in case if someone has to drop out, we can still do our thing. But they were all just like, they had such great potential. I could see that. So I just didn't want to ixnay them out because I was worried about it being too busy. I could figure that out.
All right. Okay. I respect that. Tom, I want to come to a question. I got a question, not really for you, but it piqued my interest. You mentioned it about how cities kind of reestablishing their brand. They're becoming like, like the mega team. Like they're, like you said earlier, they're becoming like the goddamn Monstars, and everyone's starting to become a fan of it. But you're also in a space where you look around and you're like, you'd be lucky to find maybe 3 black guys at a bar, that are working in Jersey. For y'all, like for each of y'all, like how has that journey been? Because not only being a City fan, getting the stick from that, but also being a black Man City fan. How has that been?
So for me, I'm in a group chat with some homies. Like I said, I went to Morehouse. It's a Liverpool fan, United fan, Chelsea fan, Arsenal fan. So like I get shit all the time from them. But my saving grace is that like we're better. So like if you can't beat us, then I really don't care about you. I'm like the only person that has bragging rights on me is the Chelsea fan for those couple of Thomas Tuchel matches, right? Like, and for Rudiger breaking KDB's face. That's the only person that could say something to me before Saturday. But in the spaces that I've navigated as far as like going to supporters groups. So in LA, I was a big supporter at Hollywood MCFC, loved them. Couple black guys in there, couple of people of color, like, but the white people were dope. Like it was cool. So like, but I think Crunk will say this because obviously he lives in like Southeast Iowa. Was like I navigate in a lot of white spaces anyway, just because like I like craft beer and I like certain things. So it was never anything that felt bad as much as it's like, oh, this is just dope. And people, they respected me when I talked. When I told them I had a podcast, people got really into it and really supportive, and kept coming back because we were saying what was good. We weren't just wilding out. It was actually like good analysis and like real good conversation. So yeah.
Word.
I think for me, and I think this is just something that like I've kind of learned about being in soccer spaces, particularly in this country. Like you're not gonna see a whole like unless you go to the right spaces, like which are difficult to find. You're not gonna see a whole lot of us. Like you might see a lot of it, like, and you're seeing a lot more of us on the pitch, particularly in this country, which is like something that I never would have dreamed of as a child. But it's awesome to see. I think this is gonna sound terrible, and I got love for all of the Divine Nine, but sometimes like finding another Black City fan was like one iota trying to find another iota. Which is very like very, very disconcerting. So like I think that's why this opportunity was just so appealing to me. Again, no shade to Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. But I do know
already know my homeboy's gonna hit me up and be like,
your
"So you got an
population
older
is a
Joseph
little bit
podcast?" Well,
disparate.
yes. I'm glad someone else said it.
No, I love it. I want us to. I've been asking. I've been saying for the last few months we need to turn our pod to the next level, and I'm very excited when I hear my podmates say things like this because I'm like they understand the mission.
Burn it down at all costs. I got you. That's the mission. Man, like, so I mean, granted, you guys had an interview, you guys got your flow, but what, like, you guys are new, you guys are only a year in. So, what's been some of the flows and gains of the podcast so far? Like, what's been some of the up and downs for y'all?
I think Charlie kind of pointed it out earlier. Is just like making sure like that you have the right equipment. Like I still don't feel like I even have the right equipment. I have adequate equipment. We'll just leave it at that. But oh God, that sounds terrible on a whole bunch of levels. But sorry, I am really on one apparently this evening.
I appreciate it.
We don't normally record this late in the week. That's what it is. We normally don't do Thursday recordings. That was a very special time in the season, so it's just like once you get to the end of the week.
Hey, I get it. I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
y'all
yeah,
used to Tuesdays and Wednesday nights.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
I think for me, it was like it's finding my voice, right? It's figuring out how to bounce off people, especially when it was 5 of us. Like the first season, Danielle's there, so you got 5 guys who all want to talk. Like nobody wants to sit there and be quiet. So it's like okay, what is my little point going to be? Because you can't just say, I'll piggyback off that every single time. Sometimes you do need to because it's a great point, but just figuring out my own lane. And so I got really into the stats lane because I'm very like type A and analytics based. It's like I would be looking up like, oh, like this was interesting. We had more possession, or oh, we did get this amount of shots off. So like figuring out how to everybody find their own thing that they will talk about. And then you have like you become your own character, right? So like I'm a Maris fan. My boy Tarek, who's not here tonight, he hates when certain players are played out of position. Tom is I've obviously like got a whole segment, Baby Blue Baddies. Danielle was kind of like the conspiracy guy who was like just kind of like in the weeds, like I don't know. So it's just everything. Everybody had to find their lane, and once we found it, I think that's when it took off.
Yeah, but I love that, man, because I mean, when you do a podcast long enough with the same group of people, you kind of start to find like, all right, this is what I really excel at. Like me on River City 930, like I'm kind of like the tactics guy. Like I want to talk about like why this happened. This and there is like, nah, bro, I'm gonna say straight up vibes. Like it is what it is.
That's me for sure. I'm vibes. Like I see what's happening, but I don't want to have to think at what's happening. Like I see what's happening. I understand that there's something off. I can even like point at what's wrong, but like I will literally be like, y'all explain what it is that's wrong that I'm seeing. And I sound dumb saying
that's the host in us.
Yes.
We be like, y'all explain it. I'll tell you, but I ain't going to explain
like
it.
I think there was something weird. Was there?
Hold up, Crunk, because if y'all don't listen to the pod, Crunk will give you a rundown, point by point, pass by pass of each half. Like the man is ESPN or something, like or a fought mob. Like he will go through everything. It's like you see what's going on. Like he always tries to claim this. Oh, I'm just vibing. No, man, you are watching every progression pass, everybody's interceptions, the stuff I forgot in the match. When I hear you talk about, I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. Thank you, sir. So as much as he leans into the vibes, the attention to detail is there because it keeps us like online to where if you wait 2 days to record a match on Saturday, you don't record till Monday, you're gonna forget some stuff. But because he does the rewatch, I know he does it, and like he'll go back and like see it. That's what he puts into it and pours into it. It's really like Pep. Like he really puts all the thinking and all the pieces into it. So all you got to do is go play, and it's a beautiful system.
I would have asked you this question real quick. We don't have to stand super long on it, but when you guys go back and rewatch a match, do you find yourself kind of like catching something? You're like, oh snap! I never even saw that happening. Like, do you kind of find yourself almost being like a coach at that point?
I think for me, like, and maybe this is just because my eye is not as critical as like some other people that watch the game, but like a lot of my biases are already confirmed when I do rewatch a match. It's like, oh yeah, like that midfield was not midfielding that day, or like, damn, like they just like really set the tone, like, or damn, like I thought that player like had X amount of aerial, one X amount of aerial duels. Like this makes sense. Like, just watching it again. So I think like for me, it just confirms my biases, honestly.
I was going to say, just with me, I do it twice. So during the original match, I'm usually like tweeting and stuff because, content. And then the second time I watch, I feel like I actually do see a lot of things differently because in the first time I'm truly just in the moment. So like if things are nonsense, I'm saying it's nonsense. And then also usually by the time I do the rewatch, I've already then watched multiple. I've watched like Pep's pre-match poster, his pre-match presser, his post-match presser. I've watched player interviews. So I'm also watching the replay with all of this information in my head. So it helps me, I guess, maybe make a little bit better sense of the match too.
Okay, I understand that. So moving on to my next one, let's talk about Man City's season because you guys won the Treble. Let's kind of break this up into multiple parts, but I want to start off at the beginning of the season, really leading up to the World Cup, right? The biggest talking point was Erling Haaland going to fit in this team? Was he going to work? What was your guys' initial thoughts? Did you guys think like, all right, Haaland's automatically going to fit in, or like me personally, I'm not gonna lie, like I thought it was going to take Pep 1 year to kind of understand Haaland, and then year two we were going to see this Haaland the quote unquote T-Rex strapped on the back of a Hummer and just kill everybody. That's why I imagine Holland is. But like he did it already. Starting off the year, man, like what was your overall thoughts of adding Holland to this team? Because I'm wondering.
I think for me at the beginning of the year, to be honest, I was like on the, I won't say I thought he was gonna get more than 25. So I either say like 15 to 20 or 20 to 25, but like something that could have won a golden boot, but nothing that would break a record. Like I didn't think he was touching Salah's record, or obviously Alan Shearer, or the homie York, but or Andy Cole. But it's like I knew that he could be successful because there were goals that were always being missed by whoever was in that position. And as much as I love Gabby Jesus and Raheem Sterling, they're just not 6'4". And there was just going to be certain balls that he was just going to get to if you do our classic city cutback that other people couldn't get to. And I watched him from when he was at Salzburg. So like he was a guy I loved watching in the Champions League. And then when ESPN got the Bundesliga rights, I could watch him in Dortmund, right? So like I knew what he was, and we had to play him. And I was like, oh yeah, he's a beast. I had no idea it was going to be this. I would be lying to you if I said that.
I think for me, the biggest frustrations early in the season were the players that were playing on the wing, because Foden was playing almost exclusively on the wing and starting a lot. Like he wouldn't necessarily pass to Haaland, and I think that was like I know that was like a large talking point amongst many City fans. Was just that final pass to Haaland wasn't there, or even if it was like coming from KDB in the midfield, like those passes like didn't seem like they were in sync the way that they seemed to be in the beginning of the spring. That was my biggest frustration. But my expectation was still that we paid a lot of money for this player, with the hopes that he was going to revolutionize what Pep does, and in a lot of ways, if you think about it, he did, just by virtue of him bringing Pep bringing Haaland into the squad. You now, I think Yogi, I think you said it before we started, we don't play with fullbacks basically, or our fullbacks are 6'5", huge, basically center backs that are mobile enough to play fullback.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said before, when adding Haaland to that squad, I was like, all right, it's going to take. I thought it was going to be like the Jack Grealish. All right, it's going to take him a year to really get settled in, get right, and then he'll progress. But after the World Cup, I really think that World Cup. Let's talk about that moment. Obviously, Norway doesn't go to the World Cup. Do you think in that time period, that was Pep was like, son, you're going to stay with me, and you're going to learn this whole entire offense, pretty much like a crash course is Man City 101. Do you think that's what propelled Haaland to the next level?
I don't think that was the player he did that with. I think I think the World Cup break was for Rico Lewis. Because if you notice, after the World Cup, that is when you because originally Pep was trying to invert both of the fullbacks into the midfield, and we saw when we went to St. James's Park against Newcastle, that was just not going very well. Kyle Walker that was the first time that I remember Kyle Walker wearing a City shirt. It was like, damn, that man looks lost. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I think that World Cup was Pep perfecting the inverted fullback / defensive midfielder, and because he was the one that was available, Rico Lewis was the one that he was teaching this to. And so then when the World Cup ends, you then have basically this 18-year-old kid trying to teach John Stones, João Cancelo, Kyle Walker, who have all come back from the World Cup and had decent success at the World Cup. No, none of their countries won, but they had decent runs for what they were expected to do. But they have to learn from this 18-year-old kid, and I think that changed the season in a lot of ways, because that was whatever João Cancelo said to Pep. That was that. I'm sure that it probably had to do with that. Why are you starting this 18-year-old kid over me? Do you know who the F I am? I just came back from a World Cup, sort of thing. And whatever he said, changed the season such that yes, João Cancelo is able to say that he got both a Premier League and a Bundesliga medal.
That's the point I want to bring up real quick. When I saw that transfer, like Cancelo leaves to go to Bayern on loan, I was like, oh, Pep had to blow this team up. Like I thought, like we were going to start seeing more people like chopping block, but it wasn't the case. Like what happened there? No, you're fine. I just want to know like what happened there.
Yeah, so like once you follow like the city writers, it's a bunch of them. Like every club has them, right? You know your guys who you follow who get all the stories. They were just saying that like Ja was pouting, like he was being a baby in the clubhouse, and like they would have to basically like keep him away because he was just bringing down the mood so much. And you could tell in those first few matches back, the flow wasn't there. It wasn't right. And I think Pep, the big thing that happened was that Tottenham match. So if you remember, Tottenham was up 0-2 at the half. City blow them out in the second half, score 4 goals, but Pep is pissed. He's like, I don't see the fire in my club. I don't see, the running. I don't see the energy. Rico Lewis got basically got stood up to, and nobody came to his defense. And it was like, oh, like this is, like you said, it's at a tweaking point, right? You can't ship out everybody, but something has to change. And I think that was shortly right before the deadline, like where it was like, okay, this is the cancer. The stories leak out. I forgot which guy did it, but that, they had a row, as they call it. And João got in Pep face, and I think I got on the pod and said, oh, yeah, he out. You can't come to that man who's won all these trophies in every league and think that you're going to just tell him what to do. And the last thing I say is that it showed the humility of John Stones and Kyle Walker, right? And I think part of it might have been like, it's his countrymen. Like, these are all Englishmen, right? So, like, okay, we see young Rico. He's one of us. We gonna ride this out. We're going to learn it. We're going to get better. I think it was harder for Cal and John because John is a more natural ball like dribbler and stuff. So like that's why he was the one who got the role. But Cal could be like, yo, this is my little bro right here. Whereas João is seeing it as competition and not realizing like, oh no, we're on a team. Your contract is set. You are good. We know who you are, but you don't want to evolve with us. So you got to go to Germany.
Yeah, that's that.
Well, and the other thing that makes that move so interesting is that like that move unlocked Grealish because like Grealish was playing behind someone who was right-footed, and there was just something about the way that like Grealish and Cancelo would occupy the same space, or whoever played on the left wing would occupy the same space. Whether like even when Phil Foden did it, Phil Foden was better at adapting to what João Cancelo was doing, but they were still occupying a lot of the same spaces. Once Cancelo left the team, that's when you see like Grealish's production jump up. Just because like, and then like as the season, like once Ake got hurt, you saw that he wasn't as effective with Akanji behind him. Like, and I can't explain it other than just like the right foot, left foot thing and like the spaces that are occupied, but it's a thing. And like, Jack Grealish was the beneficiary of it. Like he was the primary beneficiary of João Cancelo leaving. Like it wasn't any of the players that we have already mentioned. It was Jack Grealish because then Jack Grealish had more of that space on the left-hand wing to himself, and he used it appropriately.
I want to ask you guys this question: because also around this time you had Arsenal that was leading the pack. You had Newcastle and Man United kind of nipping at your heels and whatnot. Did he kind of feel like at that point, and I think also around the time you guys got knocked out of the League Cup by Southampton, did he kind of feel like this season was just like, all right, this year we just going to learn and we going to, like, if we can get the Premier League, great, keep it pushing, and then next year we challenge the 0-4-4. So were you guys kind of just like, nah, let's kind of get the bad stuff out of the way, and then from there we'll keep it moving?
The thing
I know now it feels 2020, but in that moment,
no. Even in the moment, if you go back and listen to the pods, we will always make note that like we weren't even at the halfway point of the season yet. Because of the World Cup, people's like minds got thrown off. It was like, oh, we're already in February. But it's like, no, we hadn't played 19 matches. So we still had a long season to go. So even though Arsenal was hot and we had those bad performances, I was always like, we have time to do this. And we just did it to Liverpool twice. So like we know how to win. And that was always my thing. And I always would bring up the NLE Chopper song, Walk 'Em Down, because I knew it was coming. And I think Holland was the one who said we have to hunt them. And when he said that, I was like, oh, this robot is not. His Terminator is about to get on. And
I'm telling you, he is a Tyrannosaurus Rex duct taped to the back of a Hummer, and that was just like, go have fun.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, and Sharpie was the one leading, waving that Tranquillo flag, just being like, y'all need to relax. And I am always the one who, they're usually the calm-headed ones. So like, especially the way that I work, like they weren't playing well, and I'm a solutions-based person. So I was pointing out what I was seeing that looked bad, so that overall, yeah, that would make me seem very down on it. But before the season even started, I said we were going to win a quadruple. Obviously, like that's too much. But there was no doubt that we were going to win the Premier League again. But also, that's just how I work. I don't know. I just take in consideration of what City have done, and I can do typical City for most of my City fandom, because I became a City fan back in 2001. I was that typical City, but I don't know. Ever since getting this pod, and especially with, I don't know, I just watch a lot of what people say, and it just annoys me. So I just don't want to also like match that energy that annoys me in the slightest bit. So I'm just trying to figure out my own way.
Yeah. I respect that. So let's kind of like fast forward a little bit more into the season and Arsenal match. You guys know the Arsenal match I'm talking about. The one that everyone was hyping about was like, all right, this is it. Like Arsenal wins, pretty much whoever wins this game gets the Premier League. How was you guys were you guys nervous in that moment at any point? You guys were just like, all right, this got to happen for us. Where you guys got to just like, we got Haaland, we got Alvarez, we got this guy, we got this guy, we got this guy. We're gonna win regardless. Like, what was you guys' emotional point at this level?
Well, I freaked out a little bit, but once I looked at the statistics, and really, we just don't lose to them. Period. And it is what it is. And so I felt pretty good. Tom, what were you about to say?
I think just about Arsenal in general, like I was not afraid of any team that was consistently depending on Gabriel Jesus to score goals. And like, I appreciate the service that he gave to Manchester City, the football club, but like, I'm not afraid of a team that is relying on that player to score goals consistently for them. So like, I was never truly worried about them. And like in that particular match, like, because that was when they were in the middle of their swoon. So I was like, yeah, like we are clearly the team that's in form. So I fully expect us, like they need this match more than we do. Like, so I fully expect us to come out with this win. I wasn't sure it was going to be that dominant, but I was expecting that win.
So if you remember, this is the match that got talked about because Pep had Bernardo Silva at left back, and Saka was giving that man all types of business. There was a lot of what do you call those things that black people need? Stars with an R. Damn. Anyways, he was getting some things back for all the black people in the world. Reparations. There you go. He was getting back his reparations. He was going back to these Portuguese slavers and getting it back in blood. And I felt for that man because I'm like, Pep put this man in a really bad position. Like, why wouldn't you just play Ake in this situation, right? But the reason was that it was injuries. So the lineup itself made me worried. But once Kevin hit that shot, that crazy volley, I was like, okay, we're going to win the match. And then, like, I just pulled it up. So, like, if you remember, Saka did hit a penalty. I was happy for him because he's black. I was sad because it's Arsenal. But after that, I was like, we were dominating the game. There was nothing that I was worried about once the match started. I knew they couldn't play with us. And we had, I think in the month prior, we had beat them and knocked them out of the FA Cup. There was that 1-0 win. So we had already had the experience, like, we are beating you. You played your best team or close to it. We played ours. Yeah.
No. We played our B squad in that.
Oh, they were playing their best because they were trying to go for it.
Yes.
Yes. So like once I knew that happened, so when we got to February, I was like, okay, we're really about to set this off. And And yeah, the rest was history.
So let's kind of fast forward the rest of the stuff. The Real Madrid game at Man City. I mean, at Charles Stadium, at the Etihad. A lot of people, a lot of commentators said that's probably the most dominating Champions League game they have ever watched. I'm not gonna lie, I've said it before. Like I think I told Jermaine this is not a Man City fan. Like in order to be the champion, you got to beat the champion. And until someone knocked off Real Madrid, like I wasn't going to say like Man City was going to win it. Especially being burned when y'all lost to Tottenham because I had money on that and y'all lost.
Let's not talk about that though.
So I was like, I'm definitely not picking City until they prove me right. Until they prove me wrong. But I remember watching that game, man, and I think like 10 minutes in, I was like, there's no way how Real Madrid is going to stop this. And if Real Madrid, who just won the Champions League, we're talking about a team that's three-peated in Champions Leagues, I don't know how any other team comes close to them. Like, that game alone, I think is... Do you think Pep looks at that game and be like, this is my whole career? Like, this is it in a game?
I don't know that because I felt that game was so fluky because I really thought that Bernardo Silva played the game of his life in that particular match. Like I think that like he kind of like channeled all of his like I want to go to Barca and I'm gonna be a Barca player and you're playing wearing a Real Madrid kit and I'm gonna whoop your ass. Like some like those both of his goals were just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like no, like that's ridiculous. So I'm not. The manner in which we played, yes, like it was dominating, and like I feel like it was like sending a message to the rest of Europe. Like I think that like begrudgingly, most Premier League fans will like say like, yeah, that Man City side is pretty good, but like I think that our reputation and the way that the club has fallen out in the competition, like we needed to exercise that ghost, so to speak. About what happened at the Bernabeu the previous season. So that I'm not sure that would be. I would consider that Pep's opus, but like what the result was what put the rest of Europe on notice. Like this truly is the best club on the continent.
For me, it was a combo of Ancelotti making a poor decision, right? He didn't play Alaba at left back. He took Rudiger out and put Militao back in. So Camavinga, who looked successful and helped get that one goal at home in the first leg, it wasn't going to be the same. It couldn't be as bad. And I also think that we had lulled them to sleep. It's kind of like a rope-a-dope because we did the same thing to Bayern. Well, it was reverse order, but we did the same thing to Leipzig. We played them really tight on the road. And when they went to the Etihad, we blew them out like 7-0. And so Pep just kind of like said, basically, with this season, we're not going to lose on the road. We don't have to win it, but we're going to knock you out at home. And when he basically just sit the dogs on them. Like they were hunting Real Madrid. They had no space. I've never seen that team look so inept. And it was because of the energy and effort that I don't think enough people give City credit for. Like we run our tails off. You look at the numbers, our players are always up there with distance travel because they're hunting and they're pressing. And if Pep says go, they go. And that front four press that he was putting on with Bernardo, Kevin, Haaland, and Jack, they couldn't play out. And then Benzema and Vinny looked listless, like they had nothing for us. Our defense was solid. So like the Bernardo finishes, he'll never have those finishes again. But the team effort of how to like suffocate a whole squad and get revenge for what happened at the Bernabeu in 22, that was a big factor to me. I knew they had like, yeah, we're gonna win it this time. We're not messing up.
And I think that the other thing too, what was I gonna say? Damn it, I just lost it. Now let's keep going. My bad.
Okay. Well, I just want to add one quick thing. What I do think, the reason why the goal, the score line helped make it feel as dominant as it was, but I think it was just more because we get so much crap about our fandom, like the people inside the Etihad, how loud they are, how much they yell and support and chant. And I think that match beating Real Madrid, beating the champions of the champions of the Champions League, and the people who knocked us out last year, and then the crowd stepping up. There were just so many different, I guess, boogeymans that City were able to defeat in that match. And so it was just, and we knew what we had to do to potentially get to the double and the treble. And obviously they're still very far away, but we were so close. And I just think the weight of the moment and what it all meant. And I think that's really, it's just like a cumulative thing that really made it feel like this game changing. Because like I have no fear ever again in Champions League. Like I don't it's over. It's over and done with. Yeah.
But he's still gonna boo the anthem.
Are you still gonna boo?
Oh, 1,000%. Oh yeah.
Like, he's still gonna boo the anthem.
I gotta
Let's
ask
all
this
know that
question,
right
man.
now.
Have we not been potting for that? Okay, just institutional just bullshit with him. Like between just screwing over, them trying to knock us out of the Champions League for over, we had to send 50 lawyers at him. The Tottenham nonsense. I mean, we've had our constant troubles with UEFA. It just kind of goes on. Really, on the pitch, off the pitch, they just annoy us basically. So we boo you. I mean, we can't do anything. We're going to participate. We want the trophy. We just want to let you know we don't like you.
They annoy them. They don't annoy me. I'm a fan. Like UEFA's found me. It's great. I never have any beef with them. This is stuff I didn't care about.
And this is why we have multiple pods. This is why
that's why we have a nice variety of shades. I'm good. Yeah.
I personally have beef with UEFA, but like my beef with UEFA is not necessarily the same institutional beef with UEFA that my co-hosts are talking about. Like my beef with UEFA is like how shitty they treat women's football, but that is a discussion that we can get into.
Yeah, I know you've been on the podcast because that was the perfect transition. So I'm gonna pivot real quick to the women's team. It wasn't the season that you guys wanted, obviously on the women's side. Chelsea had a magical run. United, I think, clinched Champions League football. For the women's side, obviously when you look at it, like this team is on FIFA 23. They got I want to say their own stadium, but it's a nice facility for women's football is. What is the next step for the Man City women's side? Because correct me if I'm wrong, have they won the league in England yet?
Yes, Steph Houghton is it was 24. I want to say it's been a while basically. So Steph Houghton was a very young player when they won the league. So and she is not as young of a player as she was then. I think the next step, and I think actually one of my favorite things about this particular about the podcast is this is actually to me the part of the podcast that causes the most dissension amongst us is how each host feels about Gareth Taylor.
Oh, that's I love it.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
So I think
this is where the craziness comes in at.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are cool collective with Man City, but the women's side is where we throw the boat.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Nice to know.
So I think and that to me that's just the most fascinating part of the podcast and one of the greatest joys of participating in it. To me, the next step is making sure that player retention is taken care of, and I think that's why you bring in someone like Niels Nielsen as a director of football, so that you're not asking the manager to do that. So that being stated, with less of that responsibility on his plate, I think that this particular season is the pressure cooker for Gareth Taylor. It was the club just announced today that he is coming back on a 1-year extension. I will be interested to see the work that Niels Nielsen does during the summer transfer window, since we do have the Women's World Cup, and a World Cup, regardless of gender, is a big opportunities for players to show themselves on the market, and like that's gonna like cause a lot of player movement. Like I do have a feeling that it wouldn't surprise me if you see a lot of NWSL players make a move to Europe in the summer transfer window, and even vice versa. That like none of that will necessarily surprise me. But to me, I think that we need to make sure that we have established a culture in which players want to come there and that players want to stay there. I think that the end of last season was very defeating. When you lose your entire midfield and like I'm not going to call Lucy Bronze the world's best 11 because I saw the first half of Wolfsburg. I saw the first half of Wolfsburg versus Barcelona in the final, and I know that Barcelona won, but Lucy Bronze was food in that match. And if you watch it, you will see that Lucy Bronze was food in that match. But like losing a player of that caliber is still going to hurt your club, and it's going to hurt your depth a lot too. And that's something that like you could see that that the club struggled with, particularly at defender depth at the end of the season, and which is one of the reasons why you saw Layla Wahhabi play so much, which is not my personal favorite.
And see, I'm on the side of things where on the pitch, for everything that's happened this season, in the 22-23 season, City was really good. Was it great? No. But I think the issues for me with Gareth are the things that happened before the season, right? The fact that whatever was going on led to that mass exodus. So that way, even when we had the playoff, we weren't fully fit. We didn't have a full team. So like we couldn't even make it really in the Champions League because we were bringing in so many new pieces. However, looking forward to next year, I'm going to put it on the players more than the manager. I want to see Lauren Hemp get better. I want to see Chloe Kelly get better. I want them to become clinical finishers to help out Bunny, who is a top 2, top 3 scorer in the WSL all season. I know like what's the name won the Golden Boot towards the end. Shouts to her from Aston Villa. But like they got to step up. That's supposed to be the best front 3 in the league. And they had moments, but it was inconsistent. And so in any sport, any team I follow, I'm going to put it on the players first, because if you're watching basketball, the players take the jump shots. It's not the coach. Like, if you can't shoot that shot, did you practice that shot? Because if you ain't practicing the shot, don't shoot it. And I don't know what Lauren Hemp was doing sometimes. I don't know what Chloe Kelly, her deliveries were great, but they just weren't finishing. Even Bunny, like, are you really about to become elite? Like, to where we can, know you're going to finish these balls and not scuff them or whatever. So I'm harder on the players. And I think the continuity of having a season together will help. Like, it was truly a transitional year. And now everybody's backs against the wall. Like, GT knows he's out if they don't make Champions League. I think if they don't make top 2, he's out. It can't even be like a third place finish. He's got to overtake United and Arsenal, because Chelsea is Chelsea. They are like the United. They're like the City of the women's side. Nobody's touching Chelsea. But I think we can get second place though.
Okay.
Particularly when you look at what Chelsea brought in, like, they just announced Catalina Macario. PSG just said their goodbye to Ashley Lawrence. So I know that like that announcement is coming pretty soon too. So like yes, they did lose Pernilla Harder. Yes, they did lose their captain to Magda Eriksson. But I'm not sure necessarily either one of them was the best fit for what Emma Hayes wants to do. You kind of saw that like with Pernilla kind of struggling there, knowing that she is like the world-class player that she is. I do agree with Charlie that like I am going to put this on the players, and I think specifically for me, the players that I am going to put this on is Mary Fowler and Dana Castellanos. Once Caroline Weir left for Real Madrid, like we didn't really have that creative force in the midfield, and I think that like the thought was like, okay, we can put either Mary Fowler there or we can put Dana Castellanos there, and like they can be that creative driving force, and that really didn't happen. And I think that's why you saw so much of Laura Coombs this season, which I think I appreciate the service that Laura Coombs has given to the club. Like, she is going to the World Cup with England. Like, as she like earned that spot by her play this particular season, but like her game is not that creating. So I think in order for what Charlie was saying, in order for the front 3 to get better, the player that is supplying them the ball also needs to get better. So whoever is going to be that creative midfielder, whether it is Mary Fowler, whether it is Dana Castellanos, like those are the players specifically that need to step up. And I think that I'm hoping personally that Mary Fowler is the one that takes the leap, just because I know how much she means to Australia's team. And I know that like Australia like is really primed for this particular World Cup this summer, since they are hosting it. So I think that the federation's hope is that she breaks out, and like I think all Manchester City women fans need to be Matilda's fans in the sense that they need to like Mary Fowler needs to establish herself as one of like the top 20 players in that tournament.
Wow. I can see you really get in the weeds about the women's team, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. So real quick, like what I think we might already talk about, just real quick, like what is needed to get Man City back to? Let me rephrase this question because I'm going to ask it differently. Do you feel like Sheikh Mansour, who owns Man City, does he put the same level of emphasis in the men team as he does the women's team? Because, like, granted, like United men's team, and United's not going to little back up. Let's look at Liverpool. Like, the Liverpool owners put a lot of money and emphasis in the men's team, but not so much the women's team. Where like Chelsea is the complete opposite. Like the Chelsea women's team feel like they get all the emphasis and the correct, layout and things like that. And then the men's team was kind of just like spend the money however you want it. It's fine. For Sheikh Mansour owning Man City women's team, do you feel like he put the same level of emphasis in the women's as he does the men? Because like if the men was to finish fourth, I'm sure a lot of people are losing jobs because it's not the level where they want the men to be at. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
I think that. So I think that like you did point it out, like one of the distinct advantages that Manchester City women has over most of the league is that they are not playing in a League One stadium. Like we're not going to Prenton Park to play. We're not going to Lehigh Sports Village to play. Like Academy Stadium is a like well cared for facility, like maybe more well cared for than other facilities that see a lot of action. Like, and that pitch does see a lot of action because the U21s play there, the EDS club plays there. So while that pitch does see a lot of action, like if you can tell that it's very well taken care of, and like to me watching the WSL specifically this season, that was always my biggest complaint. It's like these facilities suck. Like this, like the facilities that we are giving these professional athletes are just not even if you think about it from the perspective of like the League One athlete that plays in that particular stadium, like that particular state, like not a professional athlete does not need to be playing in that stadium, even if they are quote unquote like a lower league. So I do think that Man City women has the advantage there. I'm not sure. I think that it seems that with bringing in Niels Nielsen, like to like have someone actually direct football. I'm not saying that like Mansour necessarily cares as much. Like is obviously the money is like invested is not there, and I think that I don't remember if it was the BBC or the Guardian, BBC Sport or the Guardian. They let out some graphic about like all of the Premier League teams that have teams in the WSL, like all of those clubs, like pay more in agents fees than they do in salary for the men than they do in salaries for the women. Like every single one of them. So, like if you just think about like that math, like most chair people are not investing in their women's club in the way that they need to. I think bringing in Niels Nielsen shows like that the chair like understands like there is value in women's sports, and like maybe we have not been investing in the way that we need to. So like let's bring in a football mind to kind of shape that. So I'm hoping that this is kind of the jumping off point for not for me it's not just Man City football, because like he owns City Football Group, but like Man City women and Melbourne City women are the only two other women's sports teams of City Football Group. So like I would like, it would it would be awesome to see like City Football Group decide to expand into NWSL, and like I doubt they would buy Gotham, but like they would probably play wherever their NYCFC is going to play in Queens. I think that would be fantastic, like just expanding City Football Group's print on women's football as a whole.
Okay, understandable. That makes a lot of sense. Man, this has been a fun podcast. Who thought that a United fan can learn a lot from three City fans? I want to end on this point, and pivot back to Pep and whatnot. When we look back at this team in 10 years, because I don't, as a history teacher, it's really difficult for anyone to see the impact of what's happening in the moment, and we're still in this moment of Pep went into trouble with Man City and whatnot, and we really didn't see the full outline of like Pep's greatness with Barcelona, until like 10 years removed. We were able to look back and like, damn, that team changed the game. Is this City team going to have that same? I'm mainly talking about like this trouble-winning team. Will it have the same impact as Pep's Barcelona teams, and also like, what is the overarching legacy of this team in soccer's history?
Oh, that's easy right here. It's for this point in time, it's going to be the greatest English football side that's ever played in the Premier League era, right? Like I can't go before '92, and I've done a lot of research on it, but like you can't like. There's only been 2 trebles, and our treble was way more impressive than Man United's. No shade. The numbers are the numbers. But on a larger scale, I think what you're going to see, and people talk about it now, is that Pep has changed English football. Like people play at the lower leagues, they try to emulate Man City. If you watch the FA Cup matches, if you watch Wrexham, if you watch all these different leagues on the pyramid, they're playing possession-based football. That wasn't the case before Pep came to England. And so I think now that he's hit this crescendo of winning the big one, it's validated it for everyone now. Like every manager, if you're coming in, you can't go and say, oh, I'm trying to just huff it down the pitch and win a second ball. It's like, no, what's your goalkeeper doing? What's his feet like? What's your patterns looking like? Where are your triangles? And so I think he's really going to leave England and have shaped the game in a more wide stretching way than Alex Ferguson did. Alex Ferguson was the best manager to win matches and win trophies, but he didn't change English football. I think Pep is the one who's going to do it.
Okay.
So to me, I think the treble is a culmination of everything that Pep has done in the league. Like, like you think about like you're really gonna like the biggest thing is like, how can you play out of the back like that? And it's like, well, yeah, when you have Claudio Bravo back there, like that's not really the move, and that's gonna like lead.
I just want to ask this question real quick. Did Pep really think like Claudio Bravo was going to be it, or he was just like, I need a year to save this money up for Ederson?
I think it was more of a, oh God, Joe Hart, you absolutely cannot play for me. Like I refuse. Like it just will not happen. Like I think that it was more of a function of that than anything else. To me.
My fault. I didn't mean to distract your point, but that was just a funny point to remember
that. To me, like because nobody's playing out of the back. Like to Charlie's point, everybody's playing out of the back. Everybody's playing possession-based football. Even the tweaks that Pep made this season, you see a manager who is as tactically diametrically opposed to what Pep wants to do in Jurgen Klopp, and saying like, oh my gosh, I have a very talented player in Trent Arnold-Alexander, but like he is not a defender. And I have seen the results of him trying to defend people on the wing, and it is a detriment to my team. So let me find something with this talented player to do. So if you look at what Liverpool did, it was like they kicked him into the midfield and inverted him. So it basically looked like John Stones, but he was the one pulling the strings back there, which was helpful for them because their midfield did not midfield at all this season. Like also, fuck James Milner forever. I don't care that you signed like for forever, bitch. Like till there is no more universi or whatever you call them, the multiverse, and that it is gone. fuck you forever. I think that this treble, you see the culmination of all of Pep's impact since he came to the Premier League. Like, and this is just like affirmation of like, yes, it can be done. And look at like the other trophies that we have won along the way is confirmation of that.
Man, that's informative a lot to really think about it in that context and whatnot. So guys, I would personally want to say thank y'all for taking the time out of y'all day to talk to me about this, man. Because not only
Thank
do I
you
want
so
this,
much for having us.
no problem, man. Not only do I want, obviously what happened with Man City. I think the reason why we were delaying the podcast is I was like, let me get the ball after they won the trouble and that's the midst of it. Especially after y'all beat us in the FA Cup, which, by the way, it is what it is. I think the reason why, I wanted to have you guys on is especially because I want people to understand that, yes, there are Black fans and we are finding our voice in this, and I've been at this for 5 years, but I love the fact that now we're expanding out to now we have Black-centered podcasts for teams, and talking about the women's side of the game, talking about the men's side, the youth side, and all this other stuff, man. And my hat goes off to y'all. And like I said, like y'all are the only Man City podcast that I follow, and it's because of the hard work and the dedication that you guys put into your show day in and day out. And I just want to tip my hat to y'all, man.
I think, first of all, we appreciate